So, commuting daily on a Japanese motorcycle, part two. I did a video probably about 3 years ago on my last VFR. That was a 2000 or a 99, right around there. And I put it had a total of about 125,000 miles when I sold it. And it was a great bike. I really had no complaints. I bought that one salvage title with close to 30K on it for like $1,600. And I put a whole bunch of miles on the bike and it was sweet. But I gotta say, I really like the newer VFR better. This one's an 02. I just think it looks better. It doesn't really ride any more comfortably. There's a little bit of a power bump. This one has VTEC. I enjoy this bike a lot more. But the other bike was sweet. I'm just a sucker for the Honda Undertale. Like the dual pipes is sweet, but even just, I've owned this bike since brand new. I bought this bike when I was 20 years old. I just like the under exhaust. So the 99, I think that's what it was, a 99 for sure, was sweet. But let me tell you, I've taken a different approach on this bike, and it really hasn't cost me much more money. But this bike is an 02. I bought it, like I said, about 3 or 4 years ago. Probably 4 now, with 3,000 miles, and it was wrecked. It fell off the back of a moving vehicle. It was like some, family problems, and when they went to move it, it literally fell out of the truck. So I fixed a lot of stuff. This is all original body stuff, but like one of these fairings was broken, so I pulled it off and I plastic welded it, whatever. I put probably about $1,000 into making it look good, probably about another $500 into the creature comforts I wanted, and then about another $1,000 in all this luggage. So whatever that amount of money, I'd probably round it up and say, I probably got under $5,000 in this bike to make it exactly what I wanted, with the LEDs and the windscreen, and the Sargent seat and the solo cover and the Delkevic dual carbon fiber exhaust, and just to make the bike what I wanted, $5,000. And I put so far 50K on it. So I bought it, like I said, with 3,000 miles, and I've got 54,479. So a little over 50K. Here's everything I've done, and that's slugging it around. I mean, I caught all kinds of crap from everybody and their brother on the internet on my last VFR because, I'm running the tires till they're wasted, and I'm not doing oil changes as often as the book says, and I'm not doing valve adjustment inspections. But check it out. If you want to grill me about keeping an immaculate bike, you talk to me about this. I've owned this bike since 2006, and nothing has been missed. No maintenance, no nothing, never down, never nothing. And I've ran this thing through the canyons and all kinds of stuff. 181 miles an hour, pegged, 6-gear rev limiter. Like, this bike is cherry beautiful, perfect, and it hasn't been a garage queen. So it's not that I don't understand how to maintain a motorcycle meticulously, but this is, to me, very simply a tool to get from where I live, in the middle of nowhere, to Orange County, California, 70 miles from here, daily, slugging it around. I mean, hitting the freeway 80 miles an hour for close to an hour, and back and forth, and to different parts for my job. I go to different dealerships: Santa Monica, downtown LA, San Juan Capistrano, everywhere. This is just a workhorse beast. So I guess before I get really too started, if you're going to try to do this, there's a couple things you're really going to need. So first off, waterproof luggage. I keep whatever I need in here. Couple different pairs of gloves. I actually keep a little air compressor in here that plugs into my bike, so I can air up my tires. It's a ratchet strap, right? you're gonna need to invest some stuff. So like in addition to, the luggage, matter of fact, I'm gonna leave this jacket liner out because I want to talk about it. You're gonna need, you're just crazy to not have the luggage. You can try a backpack and all that stuff, but if you're really gonna do this every day, you're gonna get caught in some random rain, some random stuff or whatever. These lock securely. If I want, I take the key out and I'm good. So look into what you think. Personally, I would do the sides. Only thing is, and I only have one side on it right now, they make it a little bit wide. So for lane splitting, not ideal, but check it out. If you really look at the line here, it's really not adding much width to the mirror. And if you're lane splitting so tight that you're gonna clip your mirrors, you should probably rethink some things. When I first moved here, I was lane splitting like an animal, and it was a lot of close calls, most of which were not my fault. And I ended up wiped out 3 times in about 5 or 6 years. So I was averaging like 1 wipeout every couple years. And I really just had to change what I do. So I still lane split every single day, but I do a little slower. If there's not enough room between 2 cars, whatever, I'll wait, I'll rev it up. That's why this bike is perfect. This exhaust is, super loud, which brings me to the next point. You get your luggage, pick it out. I keep rain gear in here. Like I showed you there, I keep some of my tools and miscellaneous stuff and like my heated jacket, which I want to talk about. And then in my other one, I keep my work stuff. So I got everything I need. It's not like every day I'm packing and unpacking a backpack. I got it all dialed, ready to go. I keep my garage door opener in this luggage right here that I have off. I keep my laptop in there, which is why it's not here, so I have it in my house. I just brought this out to my shop so I can do some maintenance. So I start back slamming miles on this thing next week. So I'm going to do a little bit to give it a little love here. Next thing, you're crazy to have a stock exhaust. Straight up, people do not see me every single day, but they hear me. I can see it's like parting the Red Sea. I'm rolling through traffic, and typically if somebody doesn't have the radio up, boom, they'll just open up a little bit for me. Now, I'm not asking for anybody to give me extra room to lane split. We're essentially sharing a lane in California. It's legal, whether you like it or you're comfortable with it or not. It's not really relevant. It's not illegal to lane split, which is therefore legal. The fact that they move, I didn't need them to move. I can already fit. The fact that they move tells me they see me. So when I know that they see me, I'm a little bit more relaxed as to passing them. So the exhaust really helps with that. I personally would not, my last bike was black, and I noticed as soon as I got this one, for sure, people were more responsive, right? I rode my other bike every day, and I parked it and I jumped on this one so I could tell the difference immediately. I also think what helps is having 2 headlights close together that are on all the time. Like my CBR, only one light's on and little center marker. These 2 all the time, it's very noticeable to a rear view mirror that this is a motorcycle. And also the orange lights on the side. There's a reason I'm on VFRs. I have a bunch of stuff. So if that's in your rear view, that's very apparently a motorcycle. So if you're gonna do this, you want to try to stay alive if possible, if that's your goal. Next thing, I'd recommend LEDs. Just for the added visibility, and people will see you and you will see a little bit better. As you can see, this light was replaced and this one is not. This one's starting to get a little, hazed over. So that's one of the things I'm going to fix. Next thing, you're going to be sitting your butt on that seat all the time. The stock seat was decent. It really was decent, but you don't want to find a seat that fits you. My last one, I had a Corbin. That was a nice seat, but the Sergeant has been fine. These are expensive. It was probably $400. But again, if you're going to really do this every day and do a lot of miles, you're going to need to sink some money into the machine. Also, I got raised. These are Healy bars, but actually these are the Healy bars off my 99. I actually sent them to my friend who's a machinist, and he oversized them like 2 millimeters or whatever to fit these forks. Because the Healy bars are pretty pricey. But this is just going to raise your stance a little and give you adjustability so you can get in your comfort zone. If you're going to do a long distance, you need to be comfortable, which part of that is Okay, everybody wants to play tough guy. That's cool. I live in Southern California. I came from upstate New York. I know all about 0 degrees, negative 20 degrees, whatever. If you're going to be on this machine daily for, extended amounts of time, for me, I can get to my job in an hour and 5 minutes, but that's at 80 miles an hour plus. So it gets cold. Even if it's 50 degrees with an 80 mile an hour wind, it gets cold over an hour. So I put a heated jacket liner. This just plugs into the battery. I wear this under my leather jacket, and I can literally, and I've repaired this harness so many times because this jacket is this jacket's probably 9 years old, this liner. So I got my use out of it. This is probably the best $300 I've ever spent in my life, literally. So as I'm riding, I can reach down, I can grab this, and I can one hand grab that little red pigtail and plug it in. So if I'm cruising and I think I'm good, and then all of a sudden I get cold, you don't want to be cold, start to get sick. If you're cold for a couple hours a day, my back will start to cramp up. So boom, I'll just plug it in and I'm comfortable. And I'll ride this, whatever, as cold as it gets here. It gets 28 degrees occasionally. Now ice is a different hazard. I'm not really talking about that. But some sort of heated something, whether it's a full-on jacket or in my case a liner, literally it's killer. It's a must. And then another thing is, I'm gonna be on my bike. I need to be able to know if somebody's calling, texting, whatever. So I've got a mount here, holds my phone securely. I got a charger. So if I'm GPSing all these places, there's days where I'll do 300 miles a day, going to different dealerships to do internships for my students. So I got to be able to see where I'm going, hear where I'm going, keep my phone charged, be able to take calls or whatever. Part of that too is you're going to want to get some sort of Bluetooth communication. This is like the Senna something. It's been on there a little while. And this is going to let me do hands-free calls. It can read my text messages. It can do all kinds of stuff. I'd also highly recommend a GoPro or similar. I haven't been using this as much. COVID kind of slowed the traffic down, so it hasn't been bad, but it's getting really bad again. So I need to get better about keeping this on a loop and then just charging it every time I get off my bike. So something's going to go down. And this is California specific, but it probably applies to other places. For real, of the 3 times that I've been banged up, none of the 3 were my fault, for sure. And 2 of them, the people were uninsured or no license or both. So unfortunately, those are the people who are going to drive a little more recklessly. They don't really have much to lose. So when you go down and they take off, you better hope you got a license plate on that GoPro. Or I had one guy wipe me out, totally his fault. He apologized profusely. I'm so sorry, it's my fault. Don't call the police. I don't have a license. I don't have insurance. And so I made him a good guy, gentleman's agreement deal. He's going to give me, I think I told him $500. That was on my last VFR. I was kind of banged up, but whatever. As you can see, this is what I do for a living. So I figured I'd fix it. I told him just give me $500. He gave me like 100 one month and 100 the next month, and then he stopped giving me money. So I hit him up, and he's like, dude, I don't think it was my fault. I was thinking about it. No. I did not have that on video. You really, you're going to want to get some sort of camera. It'd be cool to get an onboard, like a dash cam on this, but I just haven't put that much effort into it. The GoPro's been working okay. So I also like the little levers, but a lot of this stuff is personal preference, right? But you're just going to have to know. You're going to put some money into the bike to make it daily drivable so that you're comfortable, so that you can sustain doing this. Otherwise, what I see is people are going to ride their bike every day until the weather gets a little rainy. They don't have the rain gear. It gets cold. They don't have the heater. And next thing you know, you're buying a bike to save money, but you have to also buy a car. And now you're paying for a car and a bike, insurance, cost of the vehicle, etc., your loan or whatever, if you have all your interest and whatnot. Okay, so rain gear, you're going to spend some money. So all this stuff is nice. I mean, I can be in a downpour for an hour, and I can get off my bike and zip this stuff off and walk into my job dry. And if you can't, I just don't see it working out. So like I said, I just keep all this locked up. I keep it on the bike. It's where I need it all the time. So that's pretty much about, relative safety and stuff. Now, as for the maintenance, you can do this really cheap. I swear, you can do this cheap. But you're gonna want to be able to do some of the basic maintenance yourself. So I'm just gonna stick this in here. I'm not even gonna close it up right. First things first, oil changes are very simple. What I would personally do, keep all the oil change stuff you need right on the shelf. See that one right there? That's my Honda GN4. That's what I run. I'm actually getting a little bit low, so I just keep plenty in stock, but this is probably my last one. So whatever you're gonna run, keep it. You want to keep oil filters, at least enough. Just keep the stuff in stock. I don't even remember which one's which. I think it was these. I think I got these on sale. I like Rocky Mountain ATV. I keep a chain all times. At a time, I would keep a chain and sprockets, but that was on my last bike. I've made a little bit of changes, and that's what I want to talk about next. So I change the oil on 5K intervals. I don't write a sticker. I don't write a reminder. You know what I do? I power it up, and if it's at 55,000 miles, it's due. And if it's at 56,000 miles, I know I had just done it on 55. So I just do it on the 5K interval. It's easy. What I've also done to, realistically, I got a lot of projects to do. I had a lot of stuff to take care of. What I do right here, this was actually connected right here. I trimmed it down. So, did I upset the engineers who designed it? Probably. Is somebody going to give me crap? More than likely, yes. You're diverting the airflow away from the side-mounted radiators, whatever. Okay, cool. But listen, this oil filter is back here. You can see it right there. Every time I have to access that oil filter, I have to pull this whole center, air dam or whatever, this whole black plastic piece to do an oil change. There's only so many times I'm going to do that before I start, messing clips up, breaking tabs, stripping screws. So personally, I would recommend either getting a bike that's easy to do the maintenance, like a naked bike, or in my case, I like the full fairing better, but I made a little modification so I can access it. And then, the drain plug, I kept a spare. I recently used the spare. So you figure I've done, 10 oil changes. And by that time, a little bit of, it's time for a drain plug, in my opinion. And I also bought the one with the magnetic end on it, so it kind of grabs the particles that are ferrous. So, just keeping a few things in stock, really basic. I did keep front and rear brake pads in stock, but I actually recently used them. So what I've done to this machine is fix it because it was wrecked. If it's not wrecked, I've literally done in 50K, one set of front brakes, one set of rear. I guess there's two sets of front, but I've done the brakes on this bike one time, and that's 3 sets of pads. I've done a bunch of tires. So a big thing is going to be tires. Now I've run, these are my Michelin Pilot Power or something. They're old. Actually, I probably really should do tires on this just from age. These tires, you may get 5-6K out of them. I was running Pirelli Dragon Super Sports, non-DOT track tires on this for a while, and I would get like 1,000 miles out of those tires. So this is what I'm on now. Michelin Road, well, I've changed, right? I think this is a Michelin Road 2 or 3. I got that as like a leftover tire, super cheap, still brand new. But these have been really good to me. The Michelin Road 5, I have gotten literally on the Road 4 GT, I've gotten 20,000 miles out of those tires. I'm more running about 15K out of these now, but this is the thing. If you spend 300 something bucks on a front and rear and you get 15K versus you spend $250 on a cheaper set and you get 6K, I mean, it makes logical sense to spend the money on the tires that last. And I'm going to tell you, I've run a bunch of tires, and the Road series are the go-tos. I recommend the GT personally. The GT is just made for heavier weight. And if you're going to have the luggage and you don't run the GT, you're going to find it's going to wear much more rapidly in the center. So You know, these tires don't have very many miles on them. I don't remember exactly, but I put them on just before the rain. And, you know, as you can see, I ride in the rain or whatever. It's a mess. They're holding up good. Part of it's timing it right. But this GT right here will get me 15K. But at that time, honestly, the tires would be wasted. So what I try to do is a couple things. The reason I pulled that Road 5 out is next time I go to work, I'm going to take this to my job. I keep tires in stock at my house. In case I have a problem, I can come home and I can put tires on it. And I keep tires in stock at my job in case something happens when I'm closer to work. I can go to work and I can put tires on it. So I really stretch the life of these tires. Now, if you can't change your own tires, you're really going to want to not cheap out on the tires, to be honest with you. I've even bought used tires from the police auctions, and I can get them cheap. The police will run these tires probably, you know, to about 3/32 depth if you were to measure here, or maybe even 4. I've seen police tires this good, and they'll just take them off. If anything, you need to make sure you keep really good tires on there. So I'm going to tell you, I will pass cars and everything in the rain on this tire. But the few times I've got caught in the rain with bald tires, it's a freaking nightmare. I mean, it's like a death trap. It's bad in a car. It's really bad on a bike. So that's one thing. You're not really going to want to cheap out on the tires. Now, I'm going to defend myself because everybody on the internet's got an opinion. I am going to run these tires till they are so bald, people are going to be scared. But again, I'm not the average guy. I have everything to change tires in the bottom of that toolbox, and at my job I have full-on tire machines. You know, so I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to make it so this bike costs me very little money. I'm going to get every last dollar out of those tires. I check the forecast every day. If there's a good chance of rain, I will literally drop what I'm doing and I will replace the tires before I ride it, 100%. But in the summer here in Southern California, it's so predictable. You know, there's not going to be any rain. I'll run them till they're wasted. Also, if you're going to pick up nails, I pick up a nail. I'm going to fix it. This one I already did. I do roadside plugging. I've made a couple videos on that, but I don't recommend it for everybody. I didn't pull this tire off and do an inside-out patch, but guess what? This one I just checked the air pressure and it is losing. I don't know where the plug is. Actually, that may be my plug right there. This is the thing. If I get a nail on the side of the road, a lot of times what happens, it's always the rear. The front tire kicks it up, it lands standing up, and it punctures the back tire. And at high speeds, the centrifugal force will throw the nail out, and then you have an open hole. At that point, you either call the tow truck or, like I showed you, I keep that air compressor in there, and under my seat, which it's just going to be a pain for me to get off, I keep a tire plug kit. And I'm talking about these right here. These I special order, and they come with the vulcanizing coating right on them. I don't keep any liquid rubber cement or anything. Literally, these are turnkey, and I keep a couple tools. I'm gonna slide my little bench back here, my little stool back here. So I keep the reamer and the plug tool right there. I got the exact same stuff in my bike. So I'm not, you know, this is no liability. I'm not telling you this is the best thing in the world, but if you're on the side of the road, probably the safest thing for you to do is to plug that sucker, pump it full with your little air compressor, or I even used to have CO2 cartridges, and get off the road. Because it's not, especially for me, I'm on the freeway. I've been on the 91 express lanes with no shoulder where I couldn't stop, and I've had to ride it a mile flat and then pull over, fix it, and keep rolling. So now that this one's giving me some trouble, I'm gonna dismount this tire. I'm gonna do a proper inside-out plug patch and gonna really hook it up. In the meantime, you're just gonna have to keep spare tires. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be. Or, you know, have a good shop where you make an appointment, boom, you can get it real quick turnaround. The bummer, right? I drive this sucker, I got no tire problems. 50,000 miles, no tire problems. I drive this, I got nails, I got whatever. They just wear a lot, and they're a little more prone to punctures, it seems, especially when they're worn out. They're really prone to punctures. So that's a unique challenge, and you're going to spend money on tires, more than a car, for sure. The brakes are cheap, super cheap. You don't have to replace rotors on a bike like you do a car. As long as they're above the minimum thickness, you just shoot them on. You really won't have any problems there. The clutch is cheap. I haven't done a clutch on this. My other bike needed a clutch shortly after I got it, I think from the first owner, kind of riding the clutch. I'm 50K in, the clutch is perfect. But you figure maybe on average by 60K you might need to do a clutch. If you can do the clutch yourself, it's cheap. It's like $100 job. If you can't do the clutch, I really don't know what retail cost would be, but you got to pull this fairing, pull that cover. It's not really a huge job. But and your mileage is going to vary on that based on how you ride it. For me, that clutch is going to last. I might get 100K of that clutch. And the biggest maintenance factor that I've changed up is the chain. So I recommend, I got in this case I think I got an EK, XYZ ring or something. I got like the top of the line chain. It's not an O-ring. It's like an advanced triple rib O-ring or something like that. So on my last VFR, I do chain and sprockets. I will lube this chain as often as I can. They recommend every 300 miles. For me, that's literally like 2 days. So I missed a lot of maintenance. I would just run it. I'd lube it probably once a week. But for me, I mean, that could be 1,000 miles if I do it once a week. I was not lubing it enough, and I would get 15,000 out of a chain at most, sometimes around 12. This thing would be starting to stretch, and I'd have to do the adjustment. Starting to stretch, and I have to do the adjustment. I keep up on the adjustment. This is right where I like it, right here. I haven't adjusted this chain in a long time, and that's my point. What I put on here was a ScottOiler. Actually, I contacted the company. Somebody recommended, hey, on your last one, why don't you put a ScottOiler in as many miles as you do? So I contacted them, and they gave me this one to sample. This is the original basic model. A vacuum line comes in. When the engine's running, vacuum is applied, and it puts an adjustable drip down this tube. And then I fitted this, I don't remember what they call it, like a scorpion stinger or something. I got basically that drip system dripping on both sides of the sprocket, and then as the tire spins, it pulls the oil down into the chain. And this chain has like 30,000 miles on it. I did the chain and sprockets together like 30,000 miles ago, and they're still great. I think I've done 1 or 2 adjustments on it. The only thing is, with this one, I've tried a few different fluids. If you use their fluid, it's probably gonna be great. But me trying to save money, I've actually converted over to the regular engine oil. I buy the engine oil in bulk, and I've been using the engine oil in here, and it's working good. But the engine oil fluctuates viscosity a lot with temperature. So when it's cold, this thing runs a little dry. In fact, it's a little dry right now. So what I need to do a little adjustment here. I can turn it to heavier. This direction would be a faster application. And then also, periodically, I'll come down here and I'll look, and it's dirty. I did not clean this bike for show, nothing. This thing's in the trenches. That level's getting a little low, so I'm gonna pump this thing full of fluid. This has been a little bit of a learning curve. If you over oil it, next thing you know, you're starting to get some oil on the tire. That's a disaster. So you're gonna have to babysit it when you're first figuring out what setting to have this knob at. But basically, if you're running their oil, you get that setting right, and you're probably gonna be cool. If you're trying to be cheap like me, I'm running the engine oil. I'm constantly playing with this a little bit, but it's got 30,000 miles on the chain and sprockets, and it's a little dirty, but there's little to no wear. So that in itself is saving a lot of money, because that chain is, over $100, and I was doing it every 10, 15K, maybe 20 if I stretched it. But, if I can keep this chain going 50,000 miles and do a chain and sprockets every 50K, that's going to be a game changer for me. Then the only real cost ongoing is generally going to be the tires. And the tires is probably the most expensive cost, followed by the chain and sprockets. And after that, the oil change, which is very inexpensive. So I put I put like very little money into this. Now, with 50K, that's everything I've done. I just told you everything I've done. However, I'm looking, and it's a little tough to get on camera here, but there's a dampness here. A little bit of a dampness right here, and that's coming actually from the fork seal. So from what I remember, I think I had to redo the fork seals on my last VFR, and this one with 50K looks like it may be time again. You see it's leaving a little trail there. So I think it's probably going to be time for fork seals. I did see a little puddle in my garage at my house, so that clued me in. That's why I want to bring it out here and kind of. I don't have the fork seals on hand. Matter of fact, I've actually got fork seals for my 450 on hand because I puke the seals out of that one fairly regularly. But I got to get ready to do fork seals. But for 50,000 miles of daily difficult transportation to just do brakes, tires, chain, and sprockets, and now it's first a little bit more costly thing, a set of fork seals. I'm gonna do both. This is great transportation. You'd be hard pressed to find something that's as cheap transportation as this. Not to mention the fuel savings with the maintenance is very low. Now that leads me to my next discussion. I got to tell you, I don't remember how often it calls for valve adjustments, but I'm gonna tell you what I would do, and you're gonna do what you're gonna do. So, if this calls for valve adjustments every 12,000 miles, this is what that means. They want tank pulled, front fairings, headlights, all that stuff pulled, and they want to pull the valve cover front and rear, right? Because it's a V4, it's got 2 rear and 2 front cylinders. Pull that valve cover, and then they want you to go to the head, right? Like this is my 450 head that I'm actually going through, and they want to do a feeler gauge under the bucket of that cam lobe right there. And if it's in spec, you put it together, and that's your valve adjustment. I would really call it a valve adjustment check, okay? On my last VFR, I did 2 of those. And at that point, I got a pretty good feel that the way I personally ride it, I don't run this thing to redline that often. I kind of short shift it. You know, I might shift at 4, 5, 6, 7,000 RPMs. I'm not shifting it at 11.5 every day, every shift. So I found my valve adjustment was staying the same. But the thing is, to really have it stay the same, it might change how you ride it. The way that I ride it, it's very predictable. I haven't even checked the valves on this. And guess what? It's going to offend the people of the interwebs. I'm not doing a valve adjustment check. It's not because you can say I'm an idiot. I'm totally cool with that. It's not because I'm ignorant to what the manual says. I understand. This one right here, off my 450, I'm going through and doing it. It's not that I don't understand valve adjustments. I got the kit. I got the manual. I got all the stuff. It's just these 450s using titanium valves and hitting big doubles and holding it to the rev limiter to not nosedive. Just a combination of factors, those valves tighten up on that bike freaking all the time. So actually, I just changed out the titanium valves. I got rid of the titanium valves because it's a little bit of added rotating weight, but you know what? Here's my titanium valves. Junk them. I don't want titanium valves. They're just too much work. So now that's got stainless steel valves. This one right here, I'm going to freshen it up because I'll ride this dirt bike 70 miles at 80 miles an hour to my job and back. I mean, I'm pretty hard on some stuff. So I'm going to do that piston, going through the head, doing all gaskets, doing everything it needs. I'm going to hone that cylinder and everything. So the thing is, I put stainless in those and they become very predictable. These bikes, the way I ride them, the valves don't tighten up. I put 100,000 miles on an FZ1. I did valve adjustment inspection, measurements. Valves didn't tighten up. I'm going to leave them. My last BFR, I did it. It never needed adjustment. I'm going to leave it. This is predictable to me. Now, with 50K, I'm going to swing this tank up. I'm going to clean my K&N Air filter that I put in there. I'm going to do my oil change. I'm going to really go through. I'm going to deal with the tire patch. I'm going to take care of what it needs. But I'm not going to do the valve adjustments because What a valve adjustment really is, when the valves in this head slam closed on the spring all the time, they beat their way into the seat, the valve, the tip of the valve stem gets too close to the cam, and that requires taking this cam off, taking the chain off, pulling the buckets out, and putting the shim under the bucket that's a little bit thinner to make room for the valve that has just beat its way up into the head. The valve adjustment's a big job on this. A valve clearance inspection is not that big of a job, but it's just predictable to me. So the thing is, kind of like know what you got, and I'm not going to follow the service manual because I've put more miles on these bikes than probably anyone you know. I'm sure there's some exceptions, but I've got 300 something K on these 4-cylinder Hondas, so I pretty much know what I got, and this is what I'm going to do. So with that, I don't think I really have any other things to talk about other than just the bike should be pretty good. It's going to require some work once in a while, some maintenance. If you can do it yourself, it's super cheap. If you can't, and you find a good shop, and you don't let them go super crazy on all the maintenance you need all the time, like a race bike, it's still going to be cheaper than even a Toyota Prius, which is pretty low cost of ownership. So I'd really recommend you consider commuting daily if you live in a nicer environment, and you can, and it can save time, and you can just cheat traffic and basically get yourself a time machine. And the only thing is, you're going to have to do it at your own risk. So just don't be cheap on the gear. You see, I got full leather stuff. I wear leather all the time. I got boots. These are kind of my worn out boots. I'm actually going to fix them. But don't cheap out on the safety gear. Don't cheap out on the things that are going to keep you safe. Like, the tires are a big thing. Making sure the bike's in good working condition. And make sure you know where you're going to go if you do die, because the risk is a little bit more dangerous on a motorcycle. But beyond that, I think it's a great idea.